Hi, I've had this Jimny now for 2 years. I've done about 20,000 kilometers. I've done some off-roading, I've done some road trips, lots and lots of small daily trips. And I just wanted to spend today to take you through some of the modifications I've done since I've owned it, how that's affected the driving dynamics, and most importantly, what I've learned along the way of my journey.
I got no reservations, drunk travel cities round the world on a paycheck. Yeah, I'm just trying to live it basic, trying to keep it basic, trying to make it basic. Yeah, I'm just trying to live it basic, drunk travel cities round the world on a paycheck. Yeah, I'm just trying to live it basic, trying to live it basic.
First up, I'll talk about the modifications. Pretty much everything I got new is held up really well. This grille at the front here, made of plastic, hasn't got any scratches. Coming around to the side, I got the rubber side moldings here. They've held up really well, don't look like they've weathered at all. This side body molding here, which is made of plastic, it's got a couple of scratches from when I was doing some off-roading. Up here, the wind deflector also got a couple of scratches, but if you're standing from sort of a meter away, you can't really even notice it. If you want to come around the back, on the outside, I've got the Suzuki wheel cover, which is really good for just protecting it from the sun, because this car is parked outside most of the time. If you have a look on the inside here, I've added the rear speakers to the back. It's such a weird thing that Suzuki actually has the car come new with the wiring to the back, but you just need to buy the brackets and the speakers to install it. It's made such a huge difference going from 2 speakers at the front to 4 speakers in total. On the back here, I've also got this rubber back mat, which has been great. It just stops things from sliding around. You can also fold up the seats with it. And in the middle there, I've also added the armrest. And it's just a cheap AliExpress one, but certainly makes it more comfortable when daily driving. Also down here at the back, I've got these recovery points. I've got these on the back and the front, and they just give you a bit of peace of mind that if you do need to get towed, you can make sure that you clear your front and back bumpers so that you don't damage them. All right, so now let's talk about the lift that I've got. The lift I've got is the Old Man Emu 40mm lift. So far, I've been really happy with it. For a long time, I was considering of only changing the springs within the car because I mostly wanted to improve the on-the-road handling. You know, the car is already relatively high off the ground and I'm not doing any really hardcore off-roading, so I didn't think I needed it. However, in the end, I just bit the bullet because most of the shops around here are already familiar with it and it didn't increase the cost that much to just go to that next level. In terms of the way it looks, I'm really happy with it. Seeing the yellow pop out from underneath, particularly if anyone's following you from even a short distance, it's really easy to see, so people obviously know you've got aftermarket shocks, and I think it just adds a little bit more color as well to the back of the car. The one thing that I was conscious of is that I didn't want the Jimny to look like it skipped leg day by having small tires. So I also increased the tire size. I went from a 195 width to a 215, and I also changed the aspect ratio from 75 to 80, still on the standard stock 15-inch rims. That did overall increase the price of doing the whole exercise by a bit, but so far I've just been really happy with it. Now I'm going to take the car for a drive and take you along with me, and I'll talk about how it's changed some of the driving dynamics on the road. Okay, now driving the Jimny. How have the driving dynamics been affected by the lift kit? The first thing I'll say is that it hasn't completely transformed the car's handling by any means. It still drives like a Jimny, feels like a Jimny. The biggest benefit that I have seen has been with cornering. So that would be going around corners, particularly at higher speeds. The car feels a lot more stable, a lot more planted. And generally just invokes a little bit more confidence as well to take a corner at slightly higher speeds. There have been a couple of negatives that have come from doing the lift kit. The first one would be that the fuel economy has dropped a little bit. So it's gone from, I was getting about 8 litres per 100 kilometres. Now I'm getting about 8.4 litres per 100 kilometres. That's not a major, but the car only has a 40 litre tank to start with. So you combine that with a worse fuel economy, and I was already filling it up a lot, so now I'm going to be filling it up even a little bit more frequently. The other one would be, in terms of negatives, would be that the acceleration and torque has dropped ever so slightly. It's only really noticeable if you're going up a big hill. I noticed it because there was a particular hill on my commute on the motorway that I didn't have to drop down a gear before to get up, and now I do. I don't think most people are going to notice it unless you're really in tune with your car, and the car isn't built for speed anyway. The last point I'll make is that it has helped the car in terms of how steady it is and in terms of rockiness on the road as well, I'll describe it as. Previously, if I was going up over a curb, it would rock the car quite violently left to right. It still does that to an extent, it's just not as much. And also, just when driving, when going over bumps on the road, the car takes them a little bit better and just feels a little bit more stable too. Overall, I've done some pretty long road trips with this car, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think one road trip I did was about 14 hours in one day, and the car never missed a beat. It feels great, and it just keeps chugging along. Even at 105, you can push it up to 110, but it's buzzing, but it's still very, very serviceable for just driving around, using as a daily driver, road trips, the whole works. So yeah, that's the driving experience. In terms of taking these off-roading, there's a lot of YouTube content out there showing how capable these are, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I did take the car off-roading before I got the lift and after, and being honest, I didn't notice a huge difference because I wasn't really pushing the car to its limit before I got the lift. However, I will say that with the extra ground clearance from the lift, it does inspire a little bit more confidence, and additionally, you can sort of feel that, hey, if I'm going through some big ruts, I'm probably going to make it through now. That's all really there is to say about off-roading from me. Go check out other YouTube content. You'll see lots and lots of it out there. So let's talk about if I've had any issues or damage with the car in my ownership over the past 2 years. I'm happy to report that I've had zero mechanical issues. The car's been very reliable, been very happy with it in regards to that aspect. The one thing, which has probably been the biggest thing that's been a problem, is that this thing is an absolute magnet for stone chips. Along the front here, I've just got lots and lots of little nicks, and I'm constantly just touching it up with a little bit of paint. Most people have installed a sort of bonnet deflector across the top here. Personally, I wasn't a fan of the look. However, in hindsight, maybe I should have got one. What I really do wish that I got though was the full front of the car PPF when new. It would have kept it a lot nicer. Speaking of stone chips, some keen-eyed viewers might have noticed that I've got a rather large chip in my windscreen here. That was from a big rock flying up on the motorway. I guess because the car's sort of boxy design, it sort of attracts these a little bit more. It hasn't gotten any worse over the last sort of 6 months that I've had it, so I'm sort of just waiting to see if I get any more damage before I get it fixed, but I will need to get it fixed before I get my next warrant. But overall, the car's been, reliable, and these are fairly minor issues in the bigger scheme of things, so I've been very happy with it. So, to summarize my 2 years of ownership, overall, it's been fantastic. Due to the size and shape of the car, obviously it's going to have some drawbacks. However, that's nothing that you can't really see just from looking at it. I guess the fact that it's a stone chip magnet is probably a little bit of a surprise. If I'm to talk about the fuel economy like I talked about earlier, hey, yeah, it isn't the best. However, if I wasn't so heavy on the foot, maybe it could be a little bit better. Talking about the mechanics of it, mechanically, it's been completely sound. The one thing which did catch me out though was that the very first service, they changed the diff oil, and that cost about $500, which is a little bit higher than what I was used to. However, it could differ depending if you're in a different country. And lastly, now that I've got the lift on it, it's improved some of the on-the-road driving dynamics and off the road, really rounding out the vehicle. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time. There's a lot of them. Whoa, they're getting bigger.
Oh my god.